Okay, so in this video, we're going to be taking notes on page 3 of your notes, and we're going to be going over the metric system. This is the first section of chapter 0, and it's called chapter 0 because it's not actually in your textbook, but it's stuff that's tested on the UVU test, and it's kind of like a base for a lot of the other things that we're going to talk about, so it's actually very important. So we're just going to get started. First thing, before we even talk about the metric system itself, the metric system is used to measure matter. So we're going to write down a definition for matter. Matter is anything that has mass and occupies space. So this pen is matter. Atoms and protons and neutrons are matter. Okay, pretty basic. Next, we're going to jump right into the metric system and its advantages. So things that are good about the metric system. And I want you to be copying notes along with me as I'm writing them down. And if you need to pause the video, of course, you can do that. Okay, now there's another name for the metric system. It's called like SI units. And SI stands for something in French. It's like Système International. But basically, you can think of the metric system and SI units as the same thing. So here are some advantages of those systems. First of all, the metric system is based on tens. And that is important because it makes it easy to convert between units. So for example, there are 10 decimeters in a meter and 100 centimeters in a meter, and that makes it so we can just move the decimal to convert. And I will show you how to do that, and we'll practice that in just a second. Next thing, there is just one unit for every measurement. Okay, so let me give you an example so you understand what I mean by that. One thing that we like to measure in science is length. And in the metric system, length is always measured in meters. And there's different forms of meters, right? There's centimeters and millimeters, but it's always meters. In the English, like in the US system, we have things like feet and yards and inches, and they're not related. So it's much easier with the metric system. And another very simple advantage is that it's used everywhere in the world. So it makes it so we can communicate with other scientists. Like imagine if everyone in Britain and everyone in Canada and everyone in the US and everyone in Mexico were all using different units. That would be very confusing because we need to look at studies from lots of different countries to learn things. Okay, so now we're going to just write down what the different SI units are. So we're going to make a table here. So SI, or metric units. And we're going to make 2 columns. The first one's going to be measurement. And the next column is going to be units. So, things that we like to measure in science are mass, length, volume, temperature, time, and density. Okay, so units of mass, we use grams. The abbreviation for grams is lowercase g. Length, of course, is measured in meters, which we abbreviate with a lowercase m. Volume is measured in liters, which we abbreviate with a uppercase L. Temperature is a different unit than you might think. You probably think it's Celsius, but it's actually something called Kelvin, and that's a capital K. Kelvin is the unit where the absolute lowest temperature that is possible, which is called absolute zero, is actually 0. So it's negative 273 Celsius is 0 Kelvin. So we'll talk more about that later in the year. Time is measured in seconds. And these are like our most base units. There's a lot of other units that are combinations of these units, such as density. Density is mass over volume, so it's going to be measured in grams per liter or grams per milliliter, depending on which units we're using. Okay, now there are a few prefixes with the metric system that you need to know. And I'm going to write them over here. So the prefix centi means 100, and the prefix milli means 1,000, and the prefix kilo also means 1,000. So to help those make sense, we're going to write down a couple examples of centi, milli, and kilo in grams and liters and meters. So it turns out that in 1 gram, there are 100 centigrams. The abbreviation for centi is a lowercase c. So since centi is 100, 1 gram has 100 centigrams. 1 gram also has 1,000 milligrams. So milligrams are smaller than grams. In 1 gram, you have 1,000 milligrams, so they're super tiny. A kilogram is bigger than a gram. So there's 1,000 grams in 1 kilogram. So that's how both of those mean 1,000. Kilo is like bigger than grams. Milli is like smaller than grams. Okay, now this same pattern is the same for liters. In 1 liter, there's going to be 100 centiliters and also 1,000 milliliters. And there will be 1,000 liters in 1 kiloliter. And then the same thing for meters. So 1 meter is 100 centimeters. 1 meter is 1,000 millimeters. And 1,000 meters is 1 kilometer, or kilometer, if you want to say it that way. So you need to have these memorized, like the centi, milli, kilo prefixes. You need to just know those. And it kind of looks like you have 9 things to memorize here, but I hope you can see that the only difference between this and this and this is that this one's grams and liters and meters. Centi anything is 100 of the base unit. So 100 centigrams is a gram, 100 centiliters is a liter, etc. Okay, let's talk about basically how to convert between units. So to talk about that, I'm going to draw just a straight line right here. And we're going to draw a tick mark in the middle, and we're going to label it base unit. And our base units are meters, grams, and liters. Then over here we have deci, centi, and milli. Deci is another prefix we didn't talk about. There's 10 decigrams in a gram. We don't use it very much, but I'm just going to put it on this straight line. And then kilo is over here. There are also some units right here. They're like deca and hecto, but we never use them, so you don't need to know them, so I'm not going to write them down. I'm going to draw an arrow at the top. Whenever you're converting like from centimeters to meters or from millimeters to centimeters, you are going to move the decimal to the left. And if you're ever going the other direction, so say going from kilometers to millimeters or something like that, you would move the decimal to the right. Okay, so I want to do some examples. We don't have a lot of space. I'm going to do one over here on this side and one over here on this side. I know that's a little cramped there, but we'll make it work. So the first example what we want to do is convert 550 centimeters, hopefully you can see that centimeters right there, to meters. Okay, so centimeters is right here on my line, and I want to go to the base unit, which is meters. So I want to go 1, 2 decimal places to the left. So if I rewrite 550, my decimal point is not written, but it's right here after the 0. And I'm going to go 1, 2 places to the left. So that's going to end up being 5.50 meters. Okay, so that's how you can convert with this line right here. This number line, kind of. Okay, one more example. I'm going to write it on the other side. This time we're going to convert 0.79 grams to milligrams. So grams is the base unit, so it's right here. To convert to milligrams, I need to move the decimal 1, 2, 3 to the right. So here's my number rewritten. I'm going to move it 1, 2, and then there's not anything written after that, but I still need to move it a third place, and then I put a 0 in here. So it's going to be 790 milligrams. So if you ever need to move more, you just add a 0. All right, and that is the metric system. That's how you convert between units. Those are the things you need to have memorized. Hopefully that all makes good sense.